the initial areas for investments in that sector. Mr. Abdulaziz, Engineer Abdulaziz Al-Shaydani, will give you more insights into Oman's strategy for green hydrogen and all of the activities that have been conducted in that direction and the mechanisms of dealing with this portfolio. As I know that we have identified more than 50,000 kilometer square for the investments of the green hydrogen. Next month we'll start with the phase 1, and in April 2023 we'll start with the second phase. And the introduction of phases depends on the competitiveness of these areas, and will also float some tenders on new areas for investments by 2040. All of these will be identified by Engineer Abdulaziz in his presentation today. To coordinate the efforts, we will also announce the establishment of Hydrogen Oman. You have heard of Hydrogen Development Oman. We'll talk about the main objectives of Oman Hydrogen with regard to the coordination activities between the ministry, investors, identifying the infrastructure needed to develop these new productions and the added value of this new sector and their consequences, social, economic, be it for the attraction of investments, industries, and creation of job opportunities, and building the national capabilities, and attracting best practices, and coordinating with the local needs of hydrogen and renewable energy, and the international need and what can be exported to the international market of the green ammonia or green hydrogen or any of other productions. They will work on the coordination of these topics and coordination between the different stakeholders, and give incentives to the investors to invest in that sector, facilitating the process of investing in the renewable energy and the green hydrogen, the green ammonia, and all other activities related to the work permits, to the other licensing and other official procedures. Dr. Firas Al-Abdwani will also shed light on Hydrogen's Oman company after we launch it. We'd like to welcome you again, and I'd like to thank you for being here with us in this session. I'd like to thank all of our followers through the social media platforms. If you have any question, we'll have a Q&A session by the end of the session, and the floor will be yours to pose any questions for the presentations that we'll be delivering, or any topic related to this promising sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. To achieve the carbon neutrality shall contribute in the diversification of income, and will also finding opportunities for social and economic, sustainable social and economic growth, and also achieving the balance between sustainable development, and also to mitigate the effects of climate change, also to take into advantage technology when it comes to clean techniques to build the economy of knowledge and diversification of resources. and also to establish Oman's Sustainable Center. This shall be presented by the engineer Faiza Al-Harthia, the supervisor for the energy sector and the
الحارثية الآن لتقديم العرض.
Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, Your Excellencies and our guests and the press in this venue. Thank you for this invitation and for your time. In the beginning, it is my pleasure to announce and to give this Oman's Net Zero plan and also a short brief on Oman's Sustainability Center. In the beginning, we have to talk about the initiative for the Sultan Haytham bin Tariq to have 2050 be the year for sustainable carbon neutrality, and also the center for it to be a venue for this to continue for the observe this neutrality efforts. And Oman has always been putting the efforts for the carbon neutrality for a long time. There's national efforts that have been put to mitigate the effects of climate change and to transfer these effects into projects for sustainable energy, and also the acceleration when it comes to investment for green hydrogen and the continuous growth in natural sanctuaries and whatnot. This shall affect the national and international indicators, and I also want to emphasize that Oman 2050 vision emphasizes the priorities, especially when the priorities for the environment and natural resources, to find resources and solutions that are effective for the protection of the environment, the sustainability of natural resources, and enhancement of the national economy. It is the Sustainability Center represents Oman's direction towards sustainable development. Everyone is maybe you might be wondering what is net zero. It is the balance between green gas emissions due to burning fossil fuels, and also during a specific period of time. And Oman has been announced to be announcing this, that it will be achieved by 2050. And climate change is a challenge for humanity as a whole, and especially natural disasters that are happening continuously, and hurricanes, the water levels rising. This affects countries, especially countries that have built their wealth on the oil and natural gas energy. This does not mean that it is hard to achieve. It is actually pretty doable. It is one of the most important components for the strategies. For example, the strategy of industry and strategy of energy, and the strategy for the transportation and infrastructure building. It is all related to net zero plan. There are some main enablers. For example, the efficiency of energy, for there to be resources for sustainable energy and renewable energy, and mitigating climate change effects, and policies and regulatory frameworks. And these are all things that we have talked about in the lab for carbon development, and also achieving an environment that is appropriate for this. The strategic direction for the center, the lab has continued for 3 weeks, from up to October, and included different efforts from different sectors and 150 participants from different sectors, academics and expertise, and also a youth day for the youth to talk about and give their voice when it comes to renewable energy. And 4 sectors have been focused on. Why only 4 sectors have been focused on? These 4 sectors are these sectors are responsible for 95% of the carbon emissions in the Sultanate. So to achieve net zero, we have to focus on these sectors. The lab has had 49 verifications for different projects and different strategies. Hopefully this is going to be a starting point for different projects for carbon neutrality, and we have more than 100 opportunities for the outcomes of the lab, different projects and initiatives. As I have mentioned before, the sectors that we focus on in the lab are 95% of the whole of the emissions that come in the Sultanate, oil and gas, industry, transportation. We also have to talk about emphasize that the verification, or we are really dependent on fossil fuel for electricity and industry, so we must find different ways to diversify the energy resources, renewable energy and clean energy such as solar and wind power. And in the Sultanate of Oman we have worked as usual without if we continue to work as usual without any precautions for the net zero, there's going to be more greenhouse gases by the year 2025. After leaving the lab, that does not mean that the work is over. It is only a beginning, and we will continue to report the report that should be put on a very high level, and it's going to be presented in a symposium in Sharm el-Sheikh. We have to continue this balanced pathway for the year 2050, and it is based on five different pillars: environmental sustainability and energy system costs, economic impact, social implication. This is going to be part of the report that should be issued. So there are many questions regarding if we go to net zero and carbon neutrality, is there going to be a financial effect? It is actually the opposite. If we are taking too long to reach this point, there's going to be high cost, and we're going to be delayed from other countries when it comes to neutrality. So when it comes to different sectors, there's a methodology that we have taken in a pathway to achieve this goal by 2050. Are there different sectors that are going to start and sectors that are going to start a bit later on? So we have taken different priorities. So there is preliminary sectors that are going to start. So when it comes to renewable energy, we have taken a long way for wind and solar energy, and hydrogen projects are going to support this percentage. We have taken different priorities for choosing these projects. So the cost and also their efficiency for mitigating the effects, and also its existence in strategies, whether and its effect, whether social, economic, and whatnot. So we have to take this into consideration. Also, we cannot take one sector and take another and not take another into consideration. So further looking into this and to its effect within the international level, so we have to take this into consideration. So when it comes to the priorities, this is a topic that we have taken this into consideration and have finished with this aspect. When it comes to the system choices, poses kind of a challenge because it is more complex, because we need developed technologies and techniques, and also the human power in order to achieve this. One example of this: do we use electricity for transportation, or do we use hydrogen for transportation? These are some of the examples that are present and we are studying. So what is the best for the Sultanate to take to achieve or to determine the pathway? So there are different 6 technologies that we take into consideration. In the first level, efficient production, energy consumption, electrification and renewables, battery electric technologies, the carbon capture and storage, and the most important one, which is we have many natural resources, thankfully, so nature-based solutions. Oman Sustainability Center, many are wondering what are the main goals for the center. So the center's goal is ensuring the implementation of Net Zero National Plan and the follow-up methodology to that have been verified through the national plan, and are the challenges happening or what we're expecting happening. And the easiest, which is, or the easiest part is obtaining required support from decision makers to achieve the goals at the time that we need. So there are 4 pillars for the center. First of all, it is a think tank, advisory and follow-up support center in order to ensuring the implementation. So the suggested strategies and the also regulatory frameworks and the strategies regarding the net zero. So it's going to be a center to provide consultation and technical support, and also to monitor the growth that we are making, and also going to be a center for analysis of data and issuing of data, as well as if there is any different factors, national and international, when it comes to net zero. This is going to be part of the center's work as well as the center. It's going to be a center for a business environment center enhancement. And when it comes to finance and infrastructure, so the support of circular economic, and we have to move away from linear economy. And also when it comes to infrastructure, there needs to be cooperation with the Oman Hydrogen. The center is going to make sure that the infrastructure is there and the cooperation is direct when it comes to putting forward the criteria, national criteria. And we also have to talk about the role of the society. So it's going to be more. There's going to be more awareness that is spread to the community and to the society for achieving the net zero, and also enhancing local awareness and training centers, and we want to produce human resources that are capable of taking this burden. So the lab has done so the people working in the lab are 99% of people working in the lab are Omani. So this is great for us. It's going to also be Center for Technological Advancement, Innovation, and Scientific Center. So we're going to cooperate national and international efforts in order to achieve or come up with the best international practices. So it's going to encourage scientific research and also supporting the new projects, financing new projects that use renewable energy technologies. The center is going to support these projects as well. Thank you for your time, and hopefully we have done what we can do. Thank you very much.
We'd like to thank engineer for her presentation. There is no wonder that many studies have set Sultanate of Oman among the leading countries in the green hydrogen production. With its vast land, with its shining sun, wind, water, Oman is the future of energy. Many experts have suggested that Oman can lead the way through the hydrogen production. We'll leave you now with a short video about green hydrogen, which is produced by the Ministry of Energy and Minerals.
ينمو البحث عن طاقة نظيفة نغذي بها تقدمنا، وفي أخف عناصر الكون وأكثرها وفرة تكمن فرص طاقة المستقبل. الهيدروجين، الطاقة الخضراء، نستكشف فرص الاستثمار فيه ونرسي أسس الاستكشاف والابتكار في تكنولوجيا الطاقة. هنا حيث تنثر الشمس أول خيوطها على الوطن العربي، سلطنة عمان، الموقع المتميز لمشاريع إنتاج الهيدروجين. توسطنا بين الشرق والغرب يمكننا أن نكون مركزاً للطاقة النظيفة ومحطة عالمية لتزويد السفن بالهيدروجين. الشمس، الرياح، الماء والمساحات الشاسعة، من هنا يبدأ كل شيء. على امتداد جغرافي متباين بين نجود جرداء ومدرجات خضراء ورمال صحراوية، نحتضن كنوز الطبيعة. ومن الشمس المتوهجة نولد طاقة لا تنفد، نعزز بها إمكانيات مشاريعنا في الطاقة المتجددة والمستدامة. الرياح مستمرة على مدار العام، طاقة لا يحدها غروب الشمس. شواطئ خلابة متصلة بمساحات شاسعة تمكننا من تنفيذ مشاريع متكاملة لإنتاج الهيدروجين الأخضر لنزود العالم بطاقة نظيفة ننقلها عبر موانئنا في الدقم وصلالة وصحار المرتبطة بالموانئ العالمية. ويدعمنا وجود شبكة من شركات النقل والشحن البحري وشبكة طرق حديثة ومطارات بمعايير عالمية. وتأبى الأرض إلا أن تجود بعطائها، فثراء بيئتنا الجيولوجي بالموارد الطبيعية يمدنا بالمعادن والموارد الأولية التي تدخل في تصنيع منتجات أساسية في إنتاج الهيدروجين، مما يوجد حلقة متكاملة مناسبة للاستثمار في سلاسل الإمداد والصناعات المحلية. ونسعى إلى بناء مراكز الأبحاث والدراسات في مجالات الطاقة. وتولي حكومة سلطنة عمان اهتماماً ودعماً خاصاً بملف الهيدروجين، حيث استهدفت رؤية عمان 2040 تطوير وتنمية مشاريع الطاقة المتجددة من خلال استثمار الفرص المتاحة واستغلال الموارد الطبيعية في إطار يصون البيئة ويحقق حمايتها. لذا فإن وزارة الطاقة والمعادن وبالتكامل مع جميع المؤسسات الحكومية والخاصة تدعم تسهيل الاستثمار في مجال الهيدروجين من خلال توفير جميع الإمكانات وتسريع الإجراءات وتقديم الحزم التحفيزية الجاذبة. سلطنة عمان، حيث يسود التسامح في المجتمع، صنفت ضمن أفضل الدول تمتعاً بالأمن والاستقرار. أصالة التاريخ العريق وحداثة الحاضر المزدهر ستتمتع بنمط حياة عصري ينبض بالتنوع والثراء. لقد انطلقنا بالفعل بدءاً من تخصيص مناطق امتياز تزيد عن 50,000 كيلومتر مربع لإنتاج الهيدروجين بأقل التكاليف للأسواق العالمية. انطلقنا في رحلة نتطلع فيها لجذب الاستثمارات العالمية لتكون سلطنة عمان في مقدمة الدول المنتجة والمصدرة للهيدروجين الأخضر والرائدة في توطين الصناعات والتقنيات المرتبطة به. مرحباً بكم في سلطنة عمان، مستقبل الطاقة الخضراء.
The green hydrogen represents the future of energy, and there are many technologies and new technologies that need to be regulated and to have policies to ensure its growth, and studying the production and storage areas in order to attract and localize more investments in this context, the Ministry of Energy and Minerals, along with its partners, is making efforts to regulate the hydrogen sector in order to achieve the desired results. We'd like now to invite Engineer Abdulaziz Al-Shaydani, Director General of Renewable Energy and Hydrogen at the Ministry of Energy, to present his presentation on investing in green hydrogen.
In
the name of Allah, most merciful, most gracious. This is Abdulaziz Al-Shaydani from the Ministry of Energy and Minerals. In 10 minutes, I'll talk about the main pillars of Oman's strategy on green hydrogen. Before starting, we have to know the journey of hydrogen in the Sultanate of Oman, which started with the first investments in hydrogen 2019. We have studied the feasibility of the green hydrogen and also the establishment of the National Hydrogen Alliance. And the main stage was in March 2022, before 7 months. His Majesty's Royal Directives to accelerate the process of regulating this sector and having the policies and regulations with 4 pillars. Accelerating the regulations of this sector, allocating the lands needed for hydrogen, establishing a company to take care of this sector, and also having a new directorate for clean energy. Thankfully, we have gone all of these stages, and we are about to launch the company, Oman Hydrogen Company, and announce the opportunities of investment. This is the beginning of our journey, and what is coming is more promising, and we will be celebrating with the signing of the first agreement on the on hydrogen production. Our outline for this presentation will talk about Oman ambition in green hydrogen, and we will give an overview of the world scene on hydrogen. From 2022, the demand was 74 million ton with the grey hydrogen. The grey hydrogen is produced by the natural gas, and it is a source of CO2 in the environment. The image started to change, will start to change by 2030. We will have 80% of the green hydrogen, and by 2040 our aim is that the green hydrogen will dominate the scene and to reach around 500 million ton. And the green hydrogen production is expected to grow by 200 million ton, and the green hydrogen will be representing 200 million. We'll talk about the ambitions in Oman shortly, and we'll talk about this number. Are we late? No, we are not late. There are many projects launched around the world, but 100% of these projects have been in the investment process. This is why in Oman we are in a good place to launch such projects. We have seen the different strategies of countries. Now more than 25 countries have released hydrogen ambition, and the key learnings from these countries, those countries have identified that the low carbon strategies could reduce the emissions and replace the grey hydrogen by the green hydrogen. So all of these projects are attracted or are supported by the production. With the production, then we'll have the demand on that new production. Also the alliances, different alliances. We have to group those projects and making them in clusters, and to make them in an organized way so that we create economy of scale and economic value. The fourth learning is that no country can develop this sector individually. We have to have growing international cooperation, having bilateral agreements to improve this promising sector. Many countries have taken their places in order to regulate the sector. We are in the group that expected to export green hydrogen to other countries. Oman is like Southern America, somehow North America to export hydrogen. China and India, they have not stated their position, but most of the targeted countries will be in North Korea and Western Europe. Now we go to Oman strategy and objectives. Before showing the strategy, we have to set the objectives of the strategies. We have agreed on 5 strategic objectives. The first one, ensure energy security for Omani demand, diversify the local economy and the supply chain. The third one is decarbonize the country. The fourth one, create a green H2 sector with a competitive market. The fifth goal is support innovation and ensure capabilities development for Oman. Now we go deeply into the different results of our work. As His Excellency Engineer talked about, that we have more than 50,000 kilometers square for the total renewables available land. You can see them in the map. So we are talking about a vast land of energy supply, green energy supply, and renewable energy supply for the local and international markets. What makes Oman unique to invest in this? Oman has great potentials, like the quality of wind, the quality of solar energy, which is one of the highest levels of energy worldwide. We have many places in Oman, like in Duqm, in Dhafar. The wind and solar energy mixture give us also another advantage that can make Oman unique in the production of renewable energy. This is why we are hoping that Oman will be leading in the hydrogen, green hydrogen projects. Now let's go to the Oman ambitions in green hydrogen. So these are numbers that will link them to the 200 million. By 2030, we are targeting 1 to 125 million ton of green hydrogen. Electricity, which is Oman production of electricity, is 10 gigawatt. These projects will produce between 16 to 20 gigawatt. The number is increasing by 2040. Will reach between 3.25 to 3.75 million ton by 2040 until we reach by 2050 between 7.5 and 8.5 million ton. Let's go to the 8 million ton and the 200 million ton. The 200 million ton is divided into sections. 100 million is for the local use, and the other 1 million is for the trade and for the export and trading in the hydrogen market, according to these results. Linking all of these topics with producing 8.5 million, we are talking only about 30% of the available land for green hydrogen, but the potentials are much higher. The cumulative investments by 2050 for H2 economy will be $140 billion, which is 54 billion Omani Riyal. We are talking about 300 million solar panels. We are talking about 10,000 wind turbines. We are talking about 5,200 electrolyzers. We are talking about 180 gigawatt of renewable capacity. And we are talking about also 70,000 new permanent jobs that will be created by this promising sector. Now let's go to the investors and what are we offering for investors? What are we providing for investors? The duration is 47 years from the project development and the land sub-usufruct award. So the investors can benefit from these 47 years. So for 47 years from the signing of the agreement, Oman take from this investments for the it is 20 beza for each square meter, which is 0.5 US dollar. This is a competitive track based on bidding. So base royalties, floor of 5% in kind. Will have the corporate tax applies. Equity stake will be 20% for government-owned entity by OQ Alternative Energy. It will take 20% as stake for OQ Alternative Energy. For the other incentives, the fees of the land, they are decreased and reduced, and also there are incentives of accelerating the implementation of projects with 100% of decrease or reduction in the fees during the development stages. The scope of our work is integrated project to produce green hydrogen derivatives and to have the new productions. So the investors will use the wind, the solar to produce the clean energy. Other conditions, Oman is not committed of take of electricity connection to a grid because Oman's energy capability is 10 gigabyte, and this will be doubled to 20 gigabyte for the alternatives, for the alternative energy. The Sultanate of Oman is looking for real investors, those who will not be utilizing the land in a specific framework. The project will be withdrawn from them because we are looking for real investors. The ministry will play its role in making the applicable regulations. Hydrogen Oman, which will be launched shortly, is managing all of these operations, and it will managing the infrastructure, having the beds, and will coordinate the offtakes between the investors, and it will coordinate between the existing companies with electricity company, water companies, gas companies, in cooperation with the free zones and special zones authority to facilitate the process for investors. OQ, Alternative Energy, will be the main player in this to support this sector and to have it successful. Would like to invite his engineer Mazen Lemki to launch Oman Hydrogen Company. Would like to thank Engineer Abdulaziz Sheidani for this presentation. Your Excellencies, brothers and sisters from media institutions, or dear audience, peace be with all of you. Assalamu alaikum. This is the moment that I have been waiting for from long time. For me personally, it is a historical moment in the Sultanate of Oman and for Oman Energy Development. I would like to invite His Excellency Salim Al-Aufi, the Minister of the Energy and Minerals, to launch Oman's hydrogen company, and it is a new brand.
Centrally located between the East and the West, Sultanate of Oman has some of the best renewable energy resources in the world. Vast available lands, fast continuous wind, clear skies and a radiant sun, expansive shoreline, and connected to world-class infrastructure. Oman has all the necessary ingredients for the world's most cost-effective green hydrogen. Hydrom, Hydrogen Oman.
Assalamu alaikum.
Your Excellencies, dear audience, I'd like to express my pleasure to present to you Oman Hydrogen brand, the new brand.
Partners for whom this section of the presentation is dedicated. Anyone who wants to switch your audio settings, please go ahead. I'll be switching to English now. A logo of an entity is the first visual front that an organization meets. And with this, the story of our logo. Hydrogen Oman is our new brand name, the company. And it is made of two elements that are very important to us, hydrogen and Oman. What we have are 4 different visualizations of hydrogen, 2 of them there, and then 2 for Oman. So we have the letter H, and we have the two dots representing the molecule hydrogen. We have the letter O for Oman, and we have the map of Oman, all put into an abstract format. And this together, when molded together, gives us our logo and the reduction of Hydrogen Oman into Hydrum. What we wanted is to take this youthful and nascent industry, the abstraction that comes with it, the energy and vibrancy, and to convert it into a logo that represents the objectives and the goals we want to go forward. With this, I would like to start my presentation and to move forward and to describe what our roles will be. All right. We've seen this slide. Engineer Abdulaziz has presented to us the roles and responsibilities, and I'll delve into them into greater detail. Here is just represented with the full logos for the different entities. So when we talk about offtake coordination, when we talk about the orchestration of the tender process and the land management, what does this entail? And these are aspects that we will go into momentarily. Before we do that, it is important for us to capture the essence that we need to bring in, the purpose, the vision, and the mission. So for us, it is very important to position Oman as a leading global green hydrogen hub. This is our vision. This is what we are created to pursue. Now, to do that, we've heard the importance of capturing value. So we talked a lot about export earlier in the presentations, as were presented by my colleagues. More importantly than that is the ability to capture value and to grow as well the hub concept into Oman. And this is our mission. So this was directed and guided to us by the government, by the policymaker and regulator. And with us as a regulated entity, we take this, and this is our mission that we will drive with all our energy and efforts to deliver. It is very important for us to have the values that enable us and guide us to move towards that direction. Sustainability is something that has come to the forefront. Industrialization provided a lot of benefits to humanity. There also came some detriments that we were not aware of. Now, the impact of some of our activities as humans on the globe are very much clearer, and sustainability and all of the elements of the ESG need to be incorporated. And this is something that we start with. This is our first point. Our role as an orchestrator is one that requires us to be transparent. We need to be able to deal with our colleagues and partners and stakeholders in a manner that is extremely visible and transparent and fair, and therefore this ranks very high. The role that we play also is extremely important, but there's always a risk that we end up being a bottleneck, and therefore efficiency is one of the core values that we need to have in our essence, and this is something that we will take. Agility, we're in a nascent market. The market is extremely dynamic. You hear all of the news, these different forecasts that are going up and down. The ability to grasp and to understand these changes at the right moment and to be able to see them and forecast them and to adapt is extremely important. So agility is something that we will as an organization adopt. And then innovation. So for us to be able to bring innovation into Oman, we ourselves need to be innovative. Innovation does not necessarily mean just creating products. It means the processes. It means the ability to orchestrate and bring the elements required to make this sector vibrant for us in Oman. With this, I'd like to move to describe what it is meant by orchestration. There are different elements that we need to handle. So we start with the master planning element. It is our responsibility to look at the international markets, the local markets, and understand what the demands are. We chart out our 5-year plan of what the hydrogen market looks like, and we set this and we raise it to our regulator for approval and to the board, and then we move on by taking these master plans and adopting them, taking these different parcels of land that will be provided to us by the ministry, and then we go into delineating these lands. So yes, we have 50,000 square kilometers. We need to now break them into blocks. Similar to oil and gas, but a bit more complex, whereas oil and gas deals with the subsurface and the blocks can predominantly be designed in a manner that has little conflict with the top surface. Our business is on the top surface, and therefore there's multi-use aspects of the land that need to be taken care of. There are aspects of the land themselves that cannot be used and conflict with existing infrastructure. So delineation of the lands, making these available is part of our core roles. Structuring the projects themselves. So we heard about these blocks. We have today 1 million tons. We heard that we want to provide them over 6 blocks. Now why 6 blocks? Because when we look today at the technologies available, 170,000 tons per block provides the sufficient economies of scale to make it attractive. And the land size that we saw, 320 square kilometers, it is what is required to deliver this amount of hydrogen. Now, as the technologies evolve, these parameters will change. And consequently, we need to continuously look at phase by phase and round by round what is the ideal situation from a market dynamics. And we will be agile in providing clear and transparent processes for the offering of land. And then the process of the tendering itself. We use interchangeably the word tendering and beauty contest. In mature markets, it's always a tender. And when we come to nascent markets, where there are so many interdependent variables and wants, we use more of the concept of beauty contest, or tafadal bil-Arabi. So we receive these different offers, very similar to a tender process, but the criteria that will be very clearly mentioned and specified will be used in a comparable analysis to see what holistically brings the maximum benefit to Oman and to the world. And that is how the process will move forward. Once the lands are awarded, we will move to overseeing the execution. This does not mean micromanaging or looking into the step-by-step of what is done. However, during the 3 stages of the project, which go from development to construction and then on to operations, there will be key milestone dates that are related to deliverables expected by the winning parties. We will ensure that these deliverables are met to ensure that the projects are moving forward in the time scale that is expected from them. And then we have the incentives, both positive and sticks, to hold our partners and developers accountable to delivering what we jointly want to do together. Common infrastructure is an aspect that is extremely important. Projects today wish to be fully integrated due to the project risks. We are very aware of that and we are supportive. However, we also believe there's a lot of value to be captured by having common infrastructure. By aggregating these demands and bringing them together, we can create value for the developers and for Oman, and also to integrate them into whatever we can into the national infrastructure itself. And then finally, the development of the ecosystem. And this is not last. This, in fact, I would say is perhaps the core of what we want to achieve over here in Oman. We are here to support the world in its decarbonization target by providing export, but we also believe that we are ideally located between East and West, so between Japan, South Korea, the industrial world in the East, and China, and then the West we have Europe. And the supply chain disruptions that happened over COVID and the world changes that we see make Oman ideally located to actually bring in some of these industries that are hard to abate, that would benefit from green hydrogen or low carbon hydrogen, to bring those here into Oman and to have a win-win situation for all parties involved. So moving on to the outline itself, we will be providing 2 blocks. The registration for this is open from today, and we will come to that. These 2 blocks will be in Duqm area. The RFQ date, the request for qualifications, will be on the 2nd of November. We have 2 to 4 blocks that we will be issuing later in the year. Collectively, round 1 and round 2 we call phase 1. These are the volumes that we wish to bring in 2023 to be up and running by 2030, inshallah. When we come to the structure of projects, we have broken them into 2 packages. There's the main package, which includes everything from the upstream renewable energy down to the midstream electrolyzers and hydrogen production, onto the derivatives. We're keeping it very flexible. We're allowing the developers themselves to choose the end product, whether they want it to be hydrogen itself and transport it in a liquefied manner or with a liquid organic carrier. That's up to them. Whether they want to move with ammonia or methanol, that is also open to them. If they want to bring some of the hard-to-abate sectors and industries and bring them as part of the solution, so steel or fertilizers, we're keeping it quite open and flexible for the developers to choose which elements they want to present as the final end product. And then offtake is absolutely the requirement from the developer's perspective to provide that. It is their responsibility. From our side, we ensure that whatever they're providing makes sense and it is validated. The infrastructure is going to be packaged out separately, and there are multiple reasons for that. One, we've heard that the national champion, OK Alternative Energy, will be the back-end rights partner for the primary scope. So there's a different contractual regime that will happen for the main package. Infrastructure, on the other hand, is something that we foresee to have 100% back-in rights for the Omani state-owned enterprises that will come in. So whether we talk about overhead lines, or whether we talk about hydrogen pipelines or water pipelines, these and ultimately all the end will have the optionality of being owned by the nation. So for that reason, the infrastructure is separated out into a separate package. The developers who will be bidding for the main package are also more than welcome to bid into the infrastructure package to have the collective end-to-end opportunity to deploy their projects. The timelines, we have extremely accelerated timelines that we endeavor to work on. We will be opening up the request for qualifications on the 6th of November. The registration for you to be able to receive this invite is available from today. To go and connect into the website and log in. The applications will be done on a rolling basis. So there is no deadline for closure of qualifications. You can continuously apply. And this is because of the accelerated manner of the schedule for the first round. So we're keeping it quite flexible and agile from that perspective. The RFP itself will be launched in the first week of December. And you will have around 2 months to prepare, 2.5 months to prepare your bids and submit them. We will have an evaluation period from February to March, after which the contract signing will take place. So this is an extremely accelerated schedule. Once we complete round 1, we move on to round 2, which has a more tempoed approach. And there we will start in April, follow a very similar process, while separating some of the different stages and ultimately ending with the contract signing by December 2023. So within 2023, we will have around 1 million tons of green hydrogen through the equivalent downstream products made available for contract award. The different stages, and this will be explained in much more detail to those who decide to register for the process of tender award. We start with the registration itself, which opens from today, and then the request for qualifications. You submit your qualifications, and there we look at you as a consortium. So whether you're a single entity that is capable of delivering all of the scope on your own, or whether you form a consortium to meet the criteria that we will be spelling out in great detail within the RFQ document. We check your applicability. If you succeed, you move in. You'll be invited to continue to the RFP stage. Over there, the request for proposals, you submit your proposal. We will first check whether you meet the minimum criteria of project eligibility. So in the first one, we were looking at you as a consortium. Now we look at whether the proposal you gave meets the minimum criteria that will also be very clearly specified in our proposal, RFQ. If you succeed, you go into the shortlist element. That is stage number 3. There we expect to have a few of the candidates per block that meet the minimum criteria for the proposals and the qualifications as a consortium. We will be doing the comparative analysis. That's where the term beauty contest comes in. We have very clear criteria that are basically coming to 4 elements. We are looking at the credibility of the consortium itself. We're looking at the ability to pull this all together, so the viability of the project itself. We look at the government take, so there are different elements that you can provide. And then we look at the ICV, the amount of elements that you bring as so onshoring the supply chain itself, or the forward connected industries, basically job creation and GDP contribution. These will be the main 4 criteria, and all of these will be specified in great detail within the documents we put forward. When we move on to the final round, there is, to be honest, from our perspective, very little negotiation to be done. The contracts that we have in place will be discussed during the earlier stages, where there'll be some wiggle room for you to give your clarifications or your recommendations for modifications. But once we move to the final stage, we expect to have minimal discussions and to move forward with the contract award and signing. The website is hydrom.om. You're more than welcome to visit the website. There is, at the top right corner, immediately visible to you, a button to register your interest. We welcome you. We believe this is what all of you and all of us in this room have been looking forward to be able to actually connect to the opportunities in a manner that will be very transparent and regulated in a speedy manner. We also have our different social media channels that are available to you. Of course, we just launched today, so there'll be very little available, but it will grow. We also expect to use our platform to interact not only with developers, but also with the social elements of the society, as well as academia and different interests. So we will be posting a lot of information as we go forward and as the market demands it. For us, this is a collective and collaborative manner. So we really believe that it's only together that we can deliver a green and resilient and sustainable future. This is something we do for Oman and for the world. I thank you.
We congratulate the Sultanate for its issuance of Hydro Oman and its visual brand, and we also issuing of the website, which will enable investments for putting their companies to also be able to know everything that is new, all the developments for the hydrogen investments in Oman. We also now, we're going to take questions and any comments from the press, and we call to the venue engineer Abdulaziz Shidani, the CEO or the Director of Renewable Energy and Hydrogen, and Faiza Al-Hardiya is the Supervisor for Energy Sector and supporting priority of Environment and Natural Resources in the Oman Vision 2040 Implementation Follow-up Unit. And also I call Faraz Al-Abdawani, Acting Executive Director of Hydrom, and Jalal Al-Lawati, Director of General Free Zones Investments at the Public Authorities for Special Economic Zones and Free Zones, and Najla Al-Jamali, Chief Executive for Alternative Energy at OQ. 45 minutes are put for the Q&A and the comment session, not as a bias for my fellow press, but it should be the priority for the questions are going to be for the press.
السلام عليكم شكرا جزيلا على الدعوة.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for the invitation. This project is very ambitious, and we are all happy and glad with this project. Hopefully there's going to be very beneficial outcomes. But my question for anyone who is relevant in this venue, when it comes to the local consumption of green hydrogen, is there going to be, when it comes for the expat and the citizen, is it going to be beneficial for those? So if the local consumption of green hydrogen, is the electricity bill going to be less itself? This is the first question. The second question, when it comes to the international investors, is there anyone from the outside willing to invest in Oman? And the third question and the third point, for the previous initiatives with BP and also a Belgian company and Offtake and also from Germany, is there any developments in this topic, or is this topic a completely different one? And also that lastly, for the presentation was very fast. Is this going to be given, the material going to be given to the press? Thank you very much. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you, Khalfan. I'm going to answer to some of the questions, and then some of them are going to refer them to other relevant individuals. So the first one, the one regarding outside investors, are they willing to participate in this investment? The methodology that we are following. So the answer is, of course, so before there's an establishment for hydro, OQ was doing this role, and there was many projects that you have mentioned, the Belgian company, and there's also 4 other projects with OQ. These have all been done previously. So when we look at the venue today, before us, half of the people, guests, most of them are from outside of Oman. Most of them are investors, developing investors. 15 to 20 companies are always cooperating with the Sultanate when it comes to this topic. So is there any willingness? Of course, 100%. And from our end, we're trying to reach these countries and to develop the projects in the most appropriate way. So when it comes to previous initiatives, legacies, as mentioned before, so the government has studied this, and there's going to be a quantification for this topic. Maybe it's too soon to talk about this in this event today, but you will hear about this topic in the following weeks. And for the press, and are they going to receive the material? These things are available. Maybe we'll even put them on the website, and you can download them and get them to use from your end. For the local consumption, there's variable ideas when it comes to this topic. For hydrogen, we see that it's going to be used for essential uses in the Sultanate, industrial mostly usages, and not civilian usages. So the transition from gray hydrogen to green hydrogen, low emission hydrogens, maybe green or blue, this is going to be according to the incentives and the lowering of carbon emissions in different sectors. So they need to do the studying for the financial appropriation and other products that they have, and the exporting of other Omani companies, and whether the lowering, they have these policies. So it is in accordance to our vision with the ministries. So 550 tons by 2023. This is what we need. So compared to the million tons that we're going to save, which is going to be taken into exporting, not local usage. So there's a priority for local usage. When it comes to the electricity, I'm going to refer this question to the engineer Abdelaziz. Maybe it's too soon to answer this question as well. This is the easiest answer I can give. So there's different variables and factors for the electricity as well, and how to use electricity. So things are going to be changing. So when it comes to storage and whatnot, there's no promises that there's going to be any effect for the electricity bills. Maybe with the development of these opportunities, we find out that there's a way to preserve electricity. Mail Adnani from the from Oman newspaper. So when we look at the companies that want to invest in the Sultanate, what are the challenges, possible challenges in the production of hydrogen, and the plans to overcome these? And are there any assurance that those who are using that there's going to be an effect on ammonia and hydrogen usage? I couldn't hear the last question. Assurances for there to be buyers for green hydrogen and ammonia. For countries that are willing to take this, we have been in this sector for 3 or 4 years. We've been working in the sector of green hydrogen. We have to look in the world map. We can see that east of Asia, and there is Europe. These are the countries, and these are the areas that there's an acceleration in the lowering of carbon emissions. We look at certain countries that are always, there's always contact between us and this country. For example, Germany, Belgium, and in Europe and in East Asia, there's Japan and Korea, South Korea. And China as well, somewhat in China as well. These are the countries that there's a huge interest from these countries for the Sultanate. The challenges that we face for the production and exporting of hydrogen. Today we see that the technologies and that is used for the electrical analysis, this has not been done on a level as big as this. So there is a challenge when we're doing these huge projects. We need technologies that can keep up with these huge sizes. And is there a huge demand for these technologies? Is there going to be availability of this product and the timeline that is needed? And these are some of the challenges. And also the hydrogen itself. It might be difficult to transport it via sea as liquefied hydrogen. So this is also another challenge. So are there technologies in the future that enable this transport? Are there buyers? OQ has a specific company for trading, and in our projects, any projects, whether regarding hydrogen or no, there's going to be, we're going to take our stocks when it comes to the trading of this project. And another area is when it comes to our projects, there is demand and there are buyers who show interest in these projects. So I don't think there's a huge challenge for the existence of buyers and interest. So when it comes to the contracts also, and the banks, there's not going to be huge challenges. A comment regarding this, some of the countries from China to Denmark to the US, these countries show interest, and also so the countries that have been mentioned. When it comes to the challenges, this market is an emerging market. It's a new market, so there must be technical challenges and also challenges regarding finance. But the good thing is that more than 25 countries have put forward their strategies and are focusing on this sector. So today we are walking on the same path as these countries that have ambitions when regarding hydrogen. So we need to overcome some of these challenges, small challenges, rather than if there's any risks or dangers. So most of the challenges are financing challenges. We're going to also require some commitment for buying when it comes to memorandums of understanding and whatnot. There's going to be requirements.
مثل ما تعرفوا احنا في الهيئة العامة للمناطق الاقتصادية والمناطق الخاصة كان عندنا تجميع الاهتمام كبير من 4 سنوات في قطاع الهيدروجين الأخضر. وصلتنا كثير من الطلبات من شركات من هولندا، من بلجيكا، من الهند، من آسيا، كوريا.
From many companies from Korea, Japan, and we have received around 15 requests to compete in that field in coordination with Hydrogen Oman. Many companies, they said that they are in the process of negotiation and the signing of initial signing of the offtake, and I think there is no issue with buying the product in the future. This is Mohammed Uthman from the Future Road magazine and from Egypt Radio. What is the expected foreign investments and the return on investments that is expected from this production? Do you have national capabilities to have this project? What are the countries that are implementing this project, and what are the industries that are linked with this project? Thank you. if you kindly speak slowly when asking the questions, so that we have time to answer. You answered me about the expected investments, the main sectors for investments and industries based on this production, from the production of solar panels, the turbines. There are many products that will be produced from the hydrogen, like the green steel and so on. The competitive Arabic countries, the competitiveness is open. Morocco is competing specifically. Saudi Arabia is also having ambitions on that, and they want to invest in Oman. Egypt, they have also promising directions towards investing in this. So the floor is open for competitiveness in that market. For the building of capabilities, you asked me about the availability of building capabilities. In the oil and gas sector, we have the proper manpower for this, but we need to rehabilitate them and re-qualify them in that sector. And the third question was on the imports of these projects. This will be the task of the developers, of the investors, and this will be one of the components of assessing those investors. Are they able to provide the materials they need for the infrastructure? You mentioned also competitiveness. Yes, competitiveness is there, and also cooperation is there. There are exporting countries, there are importing countries, and there are countries that are attracting the potentials. For example, the US, when they have incentives to attract developers and investors for those industries. If we talk about the Arab countries, we have to work together because we have the same potentials and similar potentials, so that we attract the developers. Yes, we have competitiveness, but there is cooperation. We have to focus on the cooperative side of our work, and we expect that the demand is there, and we should cooperate in order to meet the demand of the market. Fatma Alaim from WAF News Agency. My first question is regard with the blue hydrogen and the green hydrogen. There are companies in Oman. They have agreements in gas areas like Shell and BP, and they initiated their intent to work in the blue hydrogen. So what's the trend in that between the green hydrogen and the blue hydrogen? And also the Sultanate's priority and the ministry with regarding to the hydrogen, blue hydrogen, and to provide the opportunities for investors in the blue hydrogen, substituting the gas with other alternative sources by the state-owned companies. The last question from the projects that we have had in the hydrogen sector, what are the projects that have been implemented and are put for investments? I'll answer the question regarding the blue and green hydrogen. There is no difference between them. We are working on them both in the same equal footing. The ministry is working on developing the national policy for hydrogen transformation and to go for the hydrogen. We are talking about the green hydrogen, the relationship between blue hydrogen and gas. By time with the development of the green hydrogen, we can substitute the gas with a clean hydrogen that will give the industries competitive advantage and take advantage of the green hydrogen. I think I've answered all of your questions. I think Najla can talk about the projects. With regard to the projects that we are working on in OQ, we are doing the assessment process of OBMS process, and I think we will make the first decision on investing in these projects by 2024. Can you tell us about the project? Yeah, the project will be in Duqm, Hybrid at Duqm. This is the project that we are working in, and it will be launched by 2024. Reem Al-Hamdi from Ru'ya newspaper. First of all, they have the regulations set for producing the production of hydrogen. The second question, what is the number of direct and indirect job opportunities that will be created by the sector? Thank you. I will start with the answer, and my colleagues can add to my answer. The ministry is working on reviewing all regulations, policies related to the green hydrogen. The indicators now are clear, and we are moving forward with those changes and those developments. The number of job opportunities are 70,000 direct job opportunities that will be created by the sector by 2050.
Assalamu alaikum, Jamila Zaidi from Shabiba. So my question is regarding the potential dangers from the fast direction towards using green hydrogen, especially when it comes to the vagueness of some aspects such as storage and transportation. Thank you. Thank you very much for your question. So, regarding the topic of the risks in the Sultanate, we're emerging in the right time. So, through OQ, we have been working for 3 to 4 years to study this topic, and we have looked at the projects that Abdulaziz have presented. We see that green hydrogen projects, they are in the midst of being established, so we are currently going through a big wave, and some of the risks that we have talked about can be overcome, the challenges. So those who are coming to the Sultanate to invest, they have background in this field and topic. So hydrogen as an element, it is for tens of years it has been present in industries, so there's nothing new that we are doing. So for fossil fuel, gas and coal, and it has been turned into hydrogen, and then the hydrogen has been utilized in different things. Water analysis have been available, but in different in lower percentages. So for 5 years we have been working in this way, so the risks are not as bad as have been as we expect. So turning hydrogen into other elements, the topic, when it comes to the topic of this, there are some transportation factors for moving and getting the hydrogen into its final destination. There is still some vagueness, but some customers, investors, they have the clarity when it comes to the element that they require. So for East Asia, they want ammonia because there's direct usages and utilizations. There's already a market for the transportation of ammonia, and the market is there. So as long as we know that there is And we have seen that there is products that the developers are presenting and providing. We look at these reports and risks and put them in our report and decide how easy it is. I also want to add, is there a mechanism? There has to be a mechanism for evaluation, and there has to also be a way to view risks in a way to overcome these risks. So we cannot come to a final decision unless there are studies and an active plan in order to overcome these risks and challenges in an efficient way.
According to my understanding, all the developers are required to submit bid bond at the time of participating of a tender. So do you have my question is, do you have any idea of a specific amount of a bid bond?
So thank you very much for your question from POSCO. The details with regards to the tender itself or the beauty contest will be made available when we launch the RFQ. The amounts that will be requested will be transparently made across all stages so that any developer interested will have visibility before they embark on this journey. At this time, we are not at a position to share these numbers.
Ahmed Shizawi, BBC.
Ahmed Shizawi from BBC. I want to go back to the budgeting and the market. There's huge competition, and it is seen in the world of investment and trading. So Saudi Arabia has announced recently that they want to be a pioneer and the first in the world. Also Brazil and Chile and others. So the question is, Oman, how is it looking at this competition, and what are the strength points that they have to stand against this competition? Is it marketing challenges, technical challenges, or other challenges? Also, how is Oman going to deal with the future of hydrogen, especially in front of against countries that produce gas in very low prices? So is this going to affect the future of hydrogen or the marketing for hydrogen? So I'm going to start with the first topic and how we view the competition. When we look at the Sultanate, we see that as Abdulaziz has explained, that the Sultanate has a very unique element. So there's integration between wind energy and solar energy. So these are only a few countries in the world have this kind of integration. The quality of wind and the quality of solar energy is very high. Almost entire whole day coverage. This is very rare. So this is a part of the competition, because it creates lowering of the produced energy. This is a very unique proposition in Oman. For the competition, aspect of competition, some of the outcomes that we have talked about today, there's a study that shows comparison between different countries and their potentials and in the market. So we have talked about this today in accordance to the outcomes of the study. Countries like Chile, Namibia, and Morocco and Saudi Arabia, they have the quality of being pioneers, and the product that we have seen today that has been designed, is it going to be appropriate when it comes to the competition with these countries? Regarding the question regarding the direct competition between green and blue hydrogen, this topic has been also the lower prices for countries such as Russia. We see, according to studies, if there is 400 million tons of hydrogen that the world needs, and also in accordance to the sustainable development, these 400 tons are going to be divided between green and blue hydrogen equally, and in both parts there's going to be 50% production and usage for local usage for 50 kilometers and less, and the rest for world and international usage. So is there competition between the two parties? Of course there are, but according to studies, we see that there is different markets. For green hydrogen, 100 million tons that is needed, and for blue hydrogen, there's difference. So there are different also usages and goals for each of type. So for Europe, they want to lower the production of green hydrogen, and or the way they define green hydrogen and blue hydrogen is different. So there is going. So the green hydrogen has way less emissions than blue hydrogen. For CO2 and whatnot, there's higher emissions for blue hydrogen. So for CO2, it can be captured, but for green hydrogen, we know that the levels of CO2 emissions are almost there are none. So the 100 million tons for 2050. Is in the market that we want to be in when it comes to the income and for the Sultanate. Musallam al-Mahri from the Oman Authority for Media. So we have seen from the presentation that the production is going to start in 2030. So don't you see that we should start production before this year because of the global demand for this sector in this field? Thank you very much. For 2030, it's the goal to reach 100 to reach 1 million ton by 2030. So in order to develop and implement this project, we need 7 years. But the incentives, available incentives, give us space for any project that can achieve this production and development phase before 7 years, that they're going to get more incentives. So this is for the investors that can achieve this. But realistically, 7 years is a very logical, realistic time frame to achieve this project, especially because it's different. It separates electricity production and electricity analysis. This mix has not been done on this level before. So 7 years is actually quite realistic.
The newspaper. Two brief questions, please. One is about the ICV potential behind some of these large projects, given the fact that you have potentially hundreds of thousands of solar panels and you say 10,000 wind turbines. What is the potential to have a portion of this requirement manufactured locally? That's one question. The second question is about the status of some of the projects that have already kind of committed to developing here in Oman, especially the Indian-Norwegian joint venture, ACME and SCATEC. Would they have to rebid under the new regulations that you've just announced, or will they go ahead because they've already signed a use-of-tract agreement with Oman OPAS? Thank you.
Let me answer the first question, the second question first. I think we know that a number of announcements been made for not only for the project you just mentioned, it's for a number of projects. We are considering certain reviews for the level of commitment we have in these tenders. Our focus in the future and from now is through the tendering process. So we are trying to clean up any obligation if there are. But we are going ahead through the tendering process for each and every project in the future. In the SAV?
In regards to the projects we have currently, or you mentioned the projects we have, the Public Authority of Free Zones, the Special Economic Zones and Free Zones, have with the current players, which are ACME and SCATEC, and another agreement we have with DEMI and with Hyper Project, which is DEMI and OQ. These projects, these agreements are on the exploration projects phase of the projects, on developing the projects, but not yet the final agreements on projects. So we are outlining these projects alongside with the Ministry of Energy, alongside with HDO, to come up with a similar framework that is developed by these entities for current Oman. There's only a small, very, very tiny pilot project that is ongoing with one of these developers at the moment.
With regards to the ICV, you've hit it spot on. It is one of the most, it's one of the most important criteria. That is why it's allocated its own ranking. We mentioned that 4 different criteria we'll be looking at when we evaluate. And ICV is one of those 4 criteria. So whether we onshore the supply chain, the examples you gave, or whether we bring these forward connected industries, these are things that are absolutely essential when we come to evaluating the projects. Now, we will not be forcing any developer to come and do these things. So we're not putting, well, there are some expectations for minimum ICV criteria. But what we're doing here is that we're expecting the developers themselves to compete and offer as much as they can do. It is a positive incentive for them to offer more rather than us imposing what could be a burdenous limit on them. From what we see, we believe that there's a huge potential, particularly given the scale of these projects. Some of them actually, it makes sense for them to come and localize their manufacturing over here, whether it's just the assembly or manufacturing of some parts. We will nudge the market in the appropriate manner, and we will let it decide on the final outcome while we ensure that we maximize value for Oman.
I'll just add on the ICV bit. Obviously, we've had a number of opportunities that we look at, not just in hydrogen, but in alternative energy in a whole. We've done a number of studies, and we see that backward and forward integration is very important and a vital component to bring that value back into Oman. Given the scale, like just as Dr. Firas said, so onshoring a lot of the assembly, for example, will be important and makes actually these projects a lot more financially and economically attractive. So it's not seen as a burden, but rather seen as an opportunity to improve the project economics.
I think we also welcome any questions on the Sustainability Center or the decarbonization if you want.
Because of time factors, this is going to be the last question.
Kumar here from Renew Power. So in terms of grid planning, like during non-availability of solar and wind conditions, there are hydrogen process plants which needs continuous power. So that moment of time, what is the grid support and what banking requirements, etc., being planned so that project would be more cost competitive? Otherwise, battery storage, hydrogen storage will increase and capex will increase. So is there any planning being done on this? And these blocks, these are grid connected blocks? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, and it's a very important one to be addressed. From our perspective, what we're looking at is that there are different forms of energy storage that can happen across. Nice. Here, there's some echo. Sorry. So storage is not only on electricity, which what you alluded to. You can have storage on the electricity side, you can have it on the hydrogen side, you can also have it on the end product side, whether it's ammonia. So there's quite a bit of flexibility of how you want to do it. What we foresee is that most of the electricity should be directly connected to the midstream, which is the hydrogen production. And we expect to have minimal interaction between the projects as electricity as well as the national grid. So yes, there will be some connections for support, but we want and this is what Ms. Najla mentioned. She mentioned that we have all of this synergetic and complementary profiles of solar and wind. So unlike some other nations, when the two don't combine equitably, over here they do. They provide a quite consistent profile with some excesses that need to be considered. So yes, there will be some surplus of electricity that we will be working very closely with the electricity regulator and with OPWP to see how that could be exchanged with the grid, how the national grid itself can handle and what reinforcements they require. Those elements are there. We also are looking at different options of storage, whether this is provided as a third-party service rather than by the project itself. We're looking also at the national opportunities for pumped hydro, whether that is also feasible, particularly that some of the sites that support pumped hydro are in the proximity of these lands. Then you have the storage of hydrogen itself and the storage of ammonia. So there's quite a bit of play. And that is why the role of harmonizing the common infrastructure is one of the key tasks on Hydrom. So we have our technical teams and our technical consultants who are supporting us with this. And when we deploy our RFP, most of these details will be made available.
طيب في الختام أنا أتقدم بالشكر الجزيل لكل
At the end, I would like to thank everyone who's present with us today, Your Excellencies, the press, and the investors as well. But it is also important to thank people who have been working very hard in order to organize this event and in a very short period of time, and to have the event come out this great. I wish you all the luck, and I also call you to look into the developments of the hydrome that are going to be presented by the start of next year. Thank you very much.